Call the meeting to order. It is 5 o'clock. Today is October the 17th, 2022, and this is a special board meeting. I do want to confirm that we have quorum. And the next section that we'll go to is public comments.
Our first speaker is Erasmo Castro.
Good afternoon, Chair, Board. Thank you all for having this special called board meeting. We greatly appreciate that it was called, and I think that the items that are placed on the special called board meeting are of great interest to the citizens of Brownsville. So thank you for having this meeting. And I say that they're in the interest of the city of Brownsville because as we spoke on last time we were here, we are not only suffering because of everything that's going on, not only with the increased utility rates, but everything that's going on in general. But the utility rates being where they're at right now does not help. Does not help. So I'm glad that some action is going to be taken this evening in regards to the findings for the audit. A lot of us believe that it was slow to the coming, but we're very, very grateful that it is here. One of the things that I think that we need to take from tonight and from us being here is, this is not a witch hunt. It is not trying to chop off heads, not going after anyone's places of business. We just want answers. That's all we want. We want to know what happened, what transpired, and who's at fault. I think that a lot of the rhetoric that has gone on around everything that's occurred, the PUB board, past and maybe even present, does need to take a little bit of responsibility as to why we are here at this moment. And the reason that we are here is because we are concerned with the verbiage and the language that was found in the audit concerning management and how they handled things at that time. And again, it is our hope and desire that not one single individual that is currently working for PUB right now be singled out and be left at that. We don't want a scapegoat. We want anyone and everyone that had anything to do with what we believe was the mishandling of the monies, the increase in the rates, the increase by 36 or 42%. Just want to know what happened. We want something to be done in regards legally. And I appreciate the fact that the district attorney's office was here at the meeting earlier. If anyone out there needs to be brought to justice in regards to what they knew and what should have been informed or told to the community, for it to come out. I appreciate that the Brownsville City Commission, the mayor, has made mention that it's going to be discussed also at tomorrow's meeting, and I appreciate that. The city needs relief. It needs to start to heal, and a lot of the healing is going to come by removing individuals, by placing other individuals in place. At tomorrow's meeting, we hope that it is considered that there'll be a change in the charter as well. Things that I think would prevent what happened during these past 7, 8 years, 10 years maybe, for them not to happen again. It is our hope and desire that there is a restructuring of the PUB board to the degree that there won't be these conflict of interest with board members and other individuals throughout the city and other organizations. It's just our hope and desire. I hope that we learn after today's meeting that the actions that are taken by this board are significant and impactful, and that more clarity be allotted to the residents of the city of Brownsville in regards to any of the other dealings and projects, because where we stand right now, it's just difficult to trust any project or anything that is produced because of the degree that this project that we're talking about, Tenaska, was sold to us, and a lot of individuals, a great number of individuals in the community, I would say most of the community, they bought it and they were lied to. And again, thank you so much for having this meeting. We expect a little bit more clarity, not only after tonight's meeting, but, in the upcoming future. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Castro.
Our next speaker is Kayla Taboada.
Good afternoon. My name is Kayla Tabuada, and I am a resident of Brownsville. I actually came a little prepared this time. I'll be short. I actually just would like to read a little short section of the audit's conclusion that I feel is very important to not lose sight of as we move along with the development of this criminal act against the city of Brownsville. It reads, management had direct influence on several presentations. In many cases, Mr. Brusiak, Mayor Martinez, other management members, and consultants omitted pertinent information that would have jeopardized support for the project. In other cases, they outright changed facts to create a false narrative in an effort to deliberately cloud the project's status and viability. So while we are here today for this special meeting regarding the future of Mr. Brusiak, I'd like to remind you that it is clearly noted that Mr. Brusiak did not act alone. Therefore, the bleeding doesn't just end with him. Other management members must be held accountable, just like their leader, Mr. Brusiak. And we ask that legal actions be taken against Mayor Martinez and the consultants. Now, I know that the ex-board knew about the demise of the Tenasca project because it also states on the audit. So my hope is that this new board will actually do the right thing for the citizens of Brownsville. I think it's very important. Our trust with you guys, whether you were part of it or not, is very on the edge. And so this is the time to build a good relationship with the community like it should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ezequiel Silva.
Good afternoon. My name is Ezequiel Silva, born and raised here in Brownsville, Texas. I have a family here, have children here, went to school here. Now I have a couple of businesses, small businesses here. I know some of you all personally, some I don't. And some I really don't care to know at all. So nobody gave me anything. My dad worked all his life. He worked hard every day, worked at the shrimp races as a marine electrician. Mom did what she could. She was actually, after divorcing my dad, went to Indiana and Michigan and Minnesota and worked not only in the fields picking tomatoes, but also doing hot pockets. There's no shame in working for a living, and I'm not ashamed to say that I made something out of myself. One thing that we never did was steal from the people. We never stole from the hungry people. We never stole from the elderly people, and we never raised the rates, knowing that they were on fixed income, knowing that their salaries that they were getting from the state was not going to be even able to cover their rent, much less the utility bills that have gone skyrocketing. Some of here may or may not be responsible for this, but we had a con artist by the name of Antonio Martinez that conspired to talk to us like we were fifth graders, because I was in the audit, to simplify it as we were fifth graders. And some of you know him very, very personally, worked with him for many, many years, know him better than most of us, and yet has a degree. Now, I'm not an attorney or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I only have a high school education, so I'm very proud to own small businesses because I have common sense and I'm able to read between the lines and save money and work hard. And most of anything, trust. Trust is something that I've earned my bankers when they lend me money, because they look at my investments, they look at my collateral, they look who I am, both in character and finances, and they will not lend me a penny if I mislead them. And if I do mislead them, they'll pick up everything that I own, auction it off, and if I owe anything, hold me responsible. Because if I mislead a bank, if I mislead the government, there's repercussions for my actions. Nowhere near to where I'd be able to simplify a fifth grade education or fifth grade level of education the way Mr. Tony Martinez, well, not even a mister, the con artist. Because I'm going to read you what con artist is. For the people that don't know, it means a person who deceives other people by making them believe something false and making them give their money away. We were made to believe that something was going to good happen out of this, and yet we gave our hard-earned money away. Okay, that's a con artist. Now, in some cases, the prosecutor will allege that the defendant committed theft or money by deception, by acquiring money, property, or any other of value with another person's ineffective consent. I never get my consent to be ripped off. They just call it for what it is. It's theft. Okay? Now, what is a con artist? If it's illegal, of course it's illegal. Because con artists breaking the law when they scam and defraud a person. I was defrauded, and I believe a lot of people were also defrauded. Now, you hold a big responsibility here. Are you going to stay in the status quo and think that you are going to be invited to all these lavish parties and eating all these nice dinners because PUB pays for all this travel and all these things? Or are you going to hold the persons, not just a person, persons responsible criminally? Or are you going to let them resign with full benefits? Or let them suffer like we're suffering, how the poor people are suffering right now that, I don't know if you got hurt, but people out there, ladies, widows, crying, how are they going to pay their bill? How they were going to pay the bill and the rent? You have to make a choice here. Either you live out on the street or you live in the cold, but you're not going to live comfortable, that's for sure. Winter's coming around. I have a conscience. I have a very deep conscience, and I will not steal from anybody. And definitely will not steal millions of people of money just because I think that I'm smarter than anybody else. Now, if PUB has to declare bankruptcy because of ineffectiveness, then so be it. If they got to hire an attorney to represent themselves, so be it if they get sued. But to steal from the poor, that's unacceptable. Call it for what it is. This is theft. This is theft by deception. And I hope that you all have some kind of decency and do what is right. And talk to the FBI, talk to the Texas Rangers, talk to whoever you can. But just west of us, there's a case going on right now in West Loco for the same freaking thing. Cousins are turning on each other. Why?
Time's up.
Because it's deception. Again, this is no longer a pencil
Time's up,
error.
sir.
I
Very
understand.
much.
I understand. So do what is right. Do what is right.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Carlos Taboada.
Good evening, board. I'm here tonight talking on behalf of, not for myself, but a friend. Thankfully, the increase in rates haven't really hit me that hard, but it has only hit individuals, but businesses that were just starting to recover from COVID. And yesterday, my dear friend Johnny called me and said that his company is having financial troubles and he might be let go. And he's worried about how he's going to make his light bill considering the crazy increase in rates. And so he wanted me to come on behalf of him and ask if you could give him a heads up on when the next PUB scam is going to be. Thank you.
Susan Rubalcaba.
All right. Before I start my speech, I'm Susan Rubalcaba. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to make a quick note. If maybe the board can consider moving the meeting to 5:30 or 6, you're prohibiting quite a bit of people that would like to speak or be present at your meetings and can't make it at 5 o'clock because they get out of work at 5. So it's just something to consider. 33 U.S. Code Section 931, penalty for misrepresentation. Any claimant or representative of a claimant who knowingly and willfully makes a false statement or representation for the purpose of obtaining a benefit or payment under this chapter shall be guilty of a felony and on conviction thereof shall be punished by a fine not to exceed $10,000, by imprisonment not to exceed 5 years, or by both. Fraudulent misrepresentation is a false statement of fact that causes or induces someone to enter into a contract. A person commits fraudulent misrepresentation when he lies or misrepresents an important fact in order to cause or induce the other party to enter into a contract. The misrepresentation can be in the form of anything that is designed to deceive the other party, including innuendos, half-truths, or silence, when there exists a duty to speak. The following 6 elements are generally required to prove the tort of fraudulent misrepresentation. The defendant made a false representation or lied. The misrepresentation is material to the transaction. The defendant made the misrepresentation with malice. The defendant made the statement with knowledge that the statement was false, or the defendant made the statement with a reckless disregard as to the veracity of the statement. The defendant made the misrepresentation with the intention of inducing the other party to enter into that contract. The other party reasonably relied on this representation, and the defendant lie was proximate cause for the injury. I don't think there's any question that the Tenaska project was fraudulently misrepresented by the current CEO to the PUB board, to the commission, and most importantly, to the people. Do you know how many times the word misrepresentation is mentioned in this report? 17 times. Do you know how many times false, fraud, or fraudulent is mentioned? 8 times. Today, the citizens of Brownsville are hurt, they're outraged, and they're fed up. Fed up with the blatant disregard of our hard-earned money and the violation of our trust. We expected that the current PU board members set aside their personal and professional relationships they may have with the current CEO and perform the duties you are appointed to do. Protect and serve the interests of each and every person in Brownsville. We have been financially abused with a rate hike of 42% for a project that was misrepresented from day one. This was a cruel, premeditated plan that included lies, bribery, and backdoor dealings. We aren't here to accept a forced resignation from the current CEO. We want immediate termination and a report to the authorities for a criminal investigation. This CEO scratched the backs of many people. At the same time, he was stabbing all of us in the back. My grandmother suffered, your mother suffered, businesses suffered, fixed income people suffered, single moms suffered, and the list goes on. This is about morals, ethics, and the law. You can't just make up a lie and manipulate to steal millions from people and then get away with it. I want the FBI, Texas Rangers, local DA to dig deeper into the selected vendors and their payments. I want them to look at the extent of involvement and the power of all the players. This CEO is only an appetizer to a much bigger meal. So the ball is in your court. Are you going to allow the CEO to grease your wheels like he did the city commission? Or are you actually going to obey the oath of office you took and do what is right by the people of Brownsville? We will not be silent and we will not stop. Thank you.
Next speaker is Dr. Laura Cisneros.
Good evening, board and attendees. Everything that pretty much I was going to say has been said, and I don't want to be redundant. But when I was reading the report, I was shocked, appalled, whatever you want to call it, at how mismanaged and how fraudulent, as Ms. Rubalcaba said, from the first paragraph. And yet you read 69 pages and you see all these people's names in there. And it's like, did anybody have morals? Did anybody have ethics? And maybe someone did. Maybe someone said, you know, maybe we should tell the city of Brownsville that this project should have never gotten started because it was false. They lied about ERCOT needing 13.5% something and just all kinds of lies. And yet you have these professional folks sitting on this board, consultants of all kinds, and tabling things, showing up twice a year and collecting $35,000. One guy was even paid by two people, by us and by Tenasca. So is that called double dipping or what is it called? And nobody said, stop. And when you all came to realize that this wasn't going to happen 5 years ago, you said nothing. And I don't mean you and you and you, because you may not have been on here. So I'm not blaming you. Whoever is responsible should have the guiltiest conscience. Because maybe they'll get away with it, maybe they won't. Because like the gentleman said, Westlaco, look it up. The cousin, John, is turning on his other cousin, Cuellar, AC, because he's figuring, hey, if he's going to jail, I'm not going to jail. And guess what? We may not hear about it, about an investigation for a long time. But he who comes to the FBI first and has information might get away, meaning might get immunity. But I'll just quickly end with, do you know that we are going to not only be the poorest county, but we're going to have tons of homeless people, and we're to blame. We're to blame, guys. PUB single-handedly is going to have a lot of people on the street. So each and every one of us need to look in the mirror and see. Raising the rates 41%, and there was mentioned twice. Well, people are starting to complain. People are upset at the pay or at the hike, the pay hike or whatever, the rate hike. And nothing was done. Calladitos se ven más bonitos, just status quo. Let's keep billing. Let's keep getting money month after month after month. We're responsible. Disgusting is right. So when you see a homeless person, just remember that it may be PUB who made them homeless. Because I don't know anybody who can sustain an $800, $1,000 electric bill. They have to pay food and gas and shelter and mortgage and groceries. And I mean, you go on and medications. As a doctor, you know how many people have called me crying? I can't buy my insulin. Do you know if the one in Mexico is just as good? Do you care? People may die because they're not taking their medication and their lights are getting turned off, but you raise the rates for years and then you think, oh, 10%, 11%, that'll do. No, that's not going to do. You got to do better than that. So go home, like Ms. Rubalcaba said, do the right thing. Do the right thing because there's somebody up there looking at you. Somebody up there's looking at you. You may think, oh, you know, I'm not responsible. If you have a heart, it's ethics and morality, guys. It's not a big paycheck. It's the people. And oh, of course, we want it all back. And if we have to declare bankruptcy, so be it. Then get somebody else to come in here. Don't be a monopoly. Everybody else has Reliance, CPL, Magic Valley, but not Brownsville. And for over 10 years, you've mismanaged everything. You sit there, whoever, and just like show up and ay que padre. Think about the people, your grandmother,
Time's up.
your nephew. And I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do the right thing,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. Is that it for public comment? At this time, we're going to go ahead and go with the items for individual consideration. We've got item number 1, which is consideration and possible action to select a payment option for Brownsville Public Utilities Board's liability claim from Brazos Electric Power Cooperative, Inc., due to their default in payment of ERCOT's Winter Storm Uri invoices.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. So due to Winter Storm Uri, Brazos Electric Power Cooperative, Inc. defaulted on their payment to ERCOT in the tune of about $1.9 billion and filed for bankruptcy back in March of 2021. Brazos has now proposed a plan of reorganization that includes a proposed settlement with ERCOT. BPB has been short paid $4,311,653.46 by our QSC, Tenaska Power Services, as a result of Brazos' default to ERCOT. The amount that's reported on the agenda item, $54,474.42, that's a separate account that for congestion revenue rights between BPUB and ERCOT. That we also need to make a selection for payment option, but that one is within the authority of the GM, and we'll need to make that recommendation on Friday. BPUB is being asked to make an election from 2 payment options. Option 1 is the accelerated cost recovery option, in which BPUB would accept a 35% discount and receive payments on a more accelerated basis. Option 2 is a deferred cost recovery option, where BPUB would receive 100% of their outstanding short pay on a deferred basis over 30 years without interest. So it is clear that the accelerated cost recovery option is economically superior to the deferred cash recovery option and yields BPUB a higher present value for their money. The election must be made by this Friday, October 21, 2022. Local council has reviewed the documents. Local and our special counsel have reviewed the documents. At this time, BPUB staff recommends election of the accelerated cost recovery option for the Brazos short pay default on Winter Storm Uri invoices.
Mike, what's that amount again? Total?
$4,311,653.46.
Is that the amount that gets paid out, or is that the amount that gets discounted?
That's the amount that's going to get discounted. So we'll be getting, if this option is accepted or approved, we would be getting 65% of that
Mike,
on an accelerated cash basis. Yes, sir.
explain to me why this item, it doesn't show the $4 million. I see
Yeah, no, that's what I was trying to
we
explain.
were talking about at the very beginning.
That's what I was gonna ask too, because it wasn't in the materials.
Yes, I'm sorry, and I apologize for that error, but there's three accounts, short pays from Brazos Electric. One of them was a transmission cost of service invoices. Those totaled $656.22. Those I went ahead and approved the accelerated cash option on that one. The second amount is the congestion revenue rights account holder. That's the account that we have, PB has directly with ERCOT. Brazos short paid ERCOT $54,474.42. And we'll be making that election as well this Friday. And then the one on the agenda is a short pay through our QSE. And that amount is at $4,311,653.46. So I mistakenly picked up the 54,000 under this agenda when it should be the 4 million under the QSE. But again, it's still it's a separate account that will need to make that same option.
So you're asking the board to accept a recommendation to recover this $4 million for the accelerated cost?
Exactly, at a 35% discount. I did speak to our QC this afternoon. None of their counterparties have elected the deferred option. They've all been selecting the
the cash accelerated option. And that is the preferred option that'll generate PPB, more present value, a higher present value on their amount owed.
Sorry, when will it come in then if we do the accelerated option?
Is it still spaced out over the 13 years that? Exactly, hold on. Okay. So the initial cash payment is gonna be at 43%. And that's on the effective date once everything gets approved. And then there's gonna be an additional cash payment, based on the sales closing date with a maximum of 1 year from the effective date. And then there's gonna be 12 annual installments beginning on the first anniversary of the effective date. So it'll take about 13 years by the time we get that 65%, rather than doing a 30-year deferral.
But you get half of it,
43%,
in the first year.
exact, correct.
Council, because of the way that the agenda's written, I guess the materials, are we still okay to approve the full 4 million amount? Okay. Okay. And then I assume that since it's being done this way, it's secured throughout the life of the payment period?
Yeah, I would need to look into that.
I mean, in other words, we're agreeing to accept the discount possibly, but I just want to make sure that there's some type of security. We know that they're going to fulfill their commitment over the next 13 years.
Right, and I would say, probably so. So it's not in the, it's not in the documents.
I'd like to make a comment or suggestion that this item be tabled, that it be clarified by administration, brought back to the board. This is very confusing, Mike, for myself to read this and for the public to see this. I initially thought it was 54,000, now it's 4 million. That's my feeling on this item. I'm not sure that it's really clear from your standpoint either. I'd like to table it and ask administration to come back with this item and clarify exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, I would just say, and we could certainly do that, Mr. Rendon. The decision needs to be made by Friday. If no decision is made, it's going to be deemed as if we're selecting the 30-year deferred option.
So any tabling is basically making a decision for the 30-year. Okay, so.
We would have to have an emergency meeting or a special board meeting between now and Friday.
I understand the council said it's okay to move forward, but I will tell you, Mike, in the future, that these items have got to be a little, have to have more clarity. And
Understood.
these numerical mistakes.
Norton, you probably have the most experience regarding bankruptcy. Norton, it's a plan of reorganization. In your opinion and your experience, because it's a plan of reorganization, it's going to be secured during the life of the repayment period? Sure, I'm sorry. Because it was made through a plan of reorganization, I'm assuming that was through some type of bankruptcy proceeding. Is that typically going to entail some type of security or knowing that there's going to be a completion of that payment period? Sure. Okay. That was my only concern because obviously this is a utility that had issues. So if we're accepting a shorter term, I just want to make sure that it's.
How would the security affect the longer term? I mean, if we went ahead and accepted the 30-year, would that?
It would be the same. It would most likely be the same, but I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer. I'm just, because of the way it's done, I'm assuming that they know that it's going to be paid or there's some type of guarantee or something that was put up. I just wanted to confirm that from somebody that might know a little bit more.
No, but now that you say that, I mean, it may make sense to get as much as we can now versus holding off.
We're assured that we're going to get it.
For the 30 years, if we're sure that we're going to get it.
These are our only two choices, right?
Exactly.
We have a motion to table.
We have a
On the
motion
floor.
to table on the floor, so
Well,
There's
and
probably, you can
that
withdraw.
motion to table, I'll withdraw that motion. I know we're on a timeline. I've already made some comments about the lack of clarity with this item. We can entertain another motion if the chair so chooses.
Well, if you remove the motion,
I remove
right,
that.
remove the motion. Any other questions? And if not, can I entertain a motion to move on this item?
Has the recommended action been read? I'm sorry, did you read that?
Yes.
Does legal have a recommendation or any input based on the facts?
We've reviewed it and there's no problem selecting the option you want. We have reviewed it and there was no issue with any of it. And also Gaines Griffin at Davidson's office has looked at it as well because he's dealt with these issues previously for PUB and ERCOT.
I'll make a motion to approve the accelerated cost recovery option.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
We're going to go with item number 2, which is consideration and possible approval of change order number 3 for the eSource Consulting budget for the investigation and procurement phase of the advanced metering project.
Chairman, members of the board. On the advanced metering project, we had the initial phases where we were doing the research and presentations to the board. The original contract was for $78,500. The first change order that was requested was for 0. It was just a time extension. Then later on, we did another change order number 2 for $19,872. The last piece, what we have before you today is change order number 3, which is $19,848. This was done at the request of the board so that eSource could come back and have the committee presentations, or the presentations to the committee and the presentations to the board members. So, but this change order takes us over the 25% limit, and that's why we're bringing that to the board. So staff recommends approval of change order number 3 to amend the total amount of the eSource AMI contract to an amount not to exceed $118,220. And this is the end of that phase.
So were these costs already incurred, Eddie?
Basically, yes. I mean, the board requested them to do the work, and
The answer is yes.
that work has been done.
Okay, was the presentation to the board not part of the original scope of the agreement? Because it was 78,000.
It was, however, the board kept asking for more presentations.
Okay.
And that's what drove it.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Will someone entertain a motion to move on the item, or?
I'll make a motion that we move on it, but Eddie, that's the last change order for,
Yeah, no, that phase is, we're done.
they come back just to visit.
No, yes, we're done with that. Now we're working on the implementation piece, which is a whole nother set of,
I'll make a recommendation that we approve it based on the administration's.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Can I ask that, it passed, I think, but can I ask then that in the future, whenever we're under a contract like this, if we're gonna incur more costs to bring the consultant back, that we at least be told that? Because this is a pretty significant amount of money. And I'm sure that if the board knew that it was this amount of money every time they fly down and present to us,
Yeah.
it would probably be something that we could have decided on pretty quick. Okay,
we'll do.
thanks.
Any opposed to this motion?
I'm opposed.
Motion carries. At this time, we're going to go ahead and go with item number 3, which is a consideration and possible action to request temporary waiving of city ordinance requirements.
Chairman, members of the board, PUB was asked to, as part of the aid package, PUB was asked to review possibly waiving late fees and suspending disconnection payments. In order to do that, because there are ordinances, specifically ordinances 102-7, denial of service to any persons indebted to the city, 102-75, date when payments are due, and 102-76, penalty for delinquent payments, when 102-77, which is disconnected for non-payment. Staff is recommending that the board, PUB staff recommends approval to temporarily waive ordinances 102-7, 102-75, 102-76, and 102-77 up to and inclusive of the February 2023 billing period. We need this so that we can take it to the city, and then the city can, basically, we're requesting from the city that they waive the ordinance so that we can do that.
Okay.
And this would be effective when?
As soon as I think we're planning November.
First meeting in November.
Because we have to have them actually,
Yeah, unless the city attorney, I know Marjorie asked the city attorney for clarification if we have to bring it back. So what we do, we'll put it on that first meeting.
We have a rollback item on the agenda tomorrow for the city. I wish I knew that this was on here, so we could have tried to coordinate it all together, but if that's as quick as we can do it, that's fine. I'll see if we can do it any sooner, but I know it has to come from here first in order for us to approve it on our end, so it's fine. Thanks for looking into this and thanks for working with us.
I think it's good, Eddie. I think it's important that PUB and the city of Brownsville really make this real clear to the citizens, the ratepayers. They understand there's a beginning and then it's going to go through year 2023.
yeah, it'll be from November to February 2023.
So they'll know that it's going to have an ending, there's going to be an end to it. And then we'll go back to these items will be going back to their normal status.
Correct.
Although I assume there's nothing to stop us from extending that if we see it, if we find it necessary.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we're going to go ahead and recess to our closed meeting. The following items are going to be on there. Item number 1, meeting with the board's legal counsel for advice about contemplated and pending court and administrative litigation and on matters in which the duty of the attorney under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct conflicts with Chapter 551, Section 551.071, including, among other matters, a CRI forensic audit report. Number 2 is the deliberations regarding the appointment, employment evaluation, reassignment duties, or discipline of the chief executive officer of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board, Section 551.074 and 551.071. Number 3 is a presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation of information upon pricing of purchased power generation and fuel and their impact upon the fuel, purchase energy, and marketing charge, and possible discussion. If I could get a motion to go ahead and
So moved.
vote.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You want me to read the motion, right?
Yeah, do I have it? Can I get a motion to?
And read it.
Okay.
Sí, pero it doesn't let me. It doesn't let me.
Are we ready? At this time, we're going to go ahead and reconvene to open meeting temporarily. We are going to consideration and possible actions on items discussed in closed meeting.
Council, do we need a motion to make that back to open meeting? Do we need a motion to get back to open meeting? Or no?
No,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
that's okay. And so at this time, we have number one, I have a motion to authorize management to retain professionals to investigate findings of COR audit report. If I can get a motion,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The second item is a motion to place CEO on administrative leave with pay for 60 days. If I can get a motion to move on that item?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and go back into closed meeting session to consider, am I okay? To reconsider the assignment of duties of the CEO. If I could get a motion to go to closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to have consideration and possible action on items discussed in closed meeting. I have a motion to reassign CEO's duties to Jaime Estrada on an interim basis. If I can get a motion to move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is discussion and our request for future agenda items. If there isn't any, we're going to go ahead and, if I can get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, meeting closed.
Good evening.
Okay.
We can have it back. I would go out.
Oh my God. Okay.